I mean, the people that are out in the in the outside world, they don't believe this stuff.
And
They
can
don't
you
believe
can you
it.
imagine
And
somebody making a call?
yeah,
If
I
you're up
mean,
on top of a house or up on top of a hill and you're flooded everywhere, and somebody else gets to make that call,
Yeah.
that's not around your area, that's not people that can help you, that's government that
Yeah.
says make that call to go get them off that roof in
Right.
about 5 days. I mean, that would be awful.
Yeah. Well.
And that's what happened.
yeah,
Mhm.
So
it's heartbreaking.
I don't know if you've been thinking this much about this part of it, but it really bothers me. We were talking about it when we were walking along a greenway last night, which we're not supposed to be on, but we went back there anyway, and they're building it up to look like it's normal again, and like they're in a rush to open it. And it's like the Army Corps engineers and the National Guard is here, like
for
working on
just the
that stuff.
Greenway?
Well, not just the Greenway, but to help like
Some of those-
re-channel the
Yeah.
creeks and stuff,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. But they are rebuilding it, trying to open it back up. Like they're talking about open up Greenlee Park and stuff. We went back there, and
Why don't you
my
help people
voice
build
is
houses?
my voice
Or
is
look
the
for
way
bodies.
exactly.
Right.
My voice is the way it is right now because of breathing back there for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There's
See?
something in it.
And now he
It-
knows why my like.
Well, see, mine's the
Mine's
same way.
been,
Can you
you
hear
know,
mine?
A little
It's
bit.
like
Yeah,
that
so
because
all
of
that,
being
like when me
around
and her was
everything
talking,
that
I was
we're
like,
around. Like when we're, because do you have any cold symptoms? I don't.
No.
And I haven't had any at
Mm-mm.
all. Like I don't, maybe a little sinus pressure from breathing in dust.
Yeah.
But this is
But
just
that's
from
what it's like. You're breathing
like,
in dust and chemicals and
the
stuff.
volunteers that I had in all
Honey, my
weekend.
husband's been coughing his brains out.
Yeah.
For not, like he didn't do this before. And he has COPD and he coughed, but he's never coughed like he has
It's the
since his
stuff in
flood.
the air.
Mhm.
And it's crazy. It didn't happen before that.
The boxes
And my
and stuff
thing
that
is-
they were bringing back with dust on them and all the dirt and everything. Like that was just, out of Swananoa and stuff the other
Yeah.
day and from Marshall and everything.
See all of my stuff out of the basement, and
I
it
was
smelled
like-
like, oh gosh, it had the worst smell that I've ever
Well,
smelled.
you got to think it's like there's cars going in there, so you got gasoline, you got antifreeze,
This
you
smelled
got
like pure
transport,
poop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
mean, it
got
was awful.
dead people, dead animals.
Yeah.
You got whatever chemicals, propane, all these things going into it. But why are we trying to act like let's open the parks back up?
Yeah.
Why are we trying to act like okay,
honey,
you
I
guys
just
are off
wanna
a
hear
boil
play.
water
I just
advisory?
now. Well, how many days ago was it, honey? 3 days, 4 days that they come. Well, what was that day you was going out? Because I actually had the people with the disaster assistance come. They was based in Florida, but they're from all over the world. Like it's not FEMA, but it's disaster assistance is what they call themselves. And they wear these hazmat suits and the big things on their face and. But they come in as regular people, they're me and you.
I thought
they're
they
nice
showed
people.
up with that.
No.
I was gonna say we scared to death.
I would definitely said, something's going on
Or
here,
they show up with
guys.
the big long
Yeah.
plague mask on, the big nose.
But when they come, it was like, okay, so they said, we'll be there and so. But it took me a little while to get them, to come. And plus I had so much to do. I was like, I can't just stop what I'm doing here to do my house, So we just kind of let it go. But when they come, they just now, and how long ago has it been since it flooded? They just now took the stuff out of my basement like a week ago.
Yeah, it's been 47 days. It would have
48
been like
days.
46
So we've
for
lived
you
in that.
when they
We've lived
took
in
that
that
stuff
flooded
out.
basement with that mold and with whatever else come through in that water all this time. So his cough has got way worse.
And that's the thing. Nobody's come around to tell you, here's what's in the water.
Yeah.
Be careful. Here's what's in the water.
No.
Here's what's in the sill. They got people out here mucking out these houses and stuff like that. Nobody's coming around. Somebody could pee down the street usually, and somebody from the Board of Health will come to my door and say, hey, be careful. There's some pee on the ground.
there's a boil water advisory because the pipe
I'm
has a crack
joking.
in
I'm
it.
exaggerating, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, but there's a little boil water advisory if something trickles into.
Oh, yeah.
But now you've got all these different chemicals and bio stuff and all this, but why is nobody coming around telling?
It's not to drink the water.
Yeah, or not to
But what
clean
did
up
they
the
do
dirt
over
or
that
anything.
place, when that big train?
You're talking about East Palestine.
Yes.
Ohio.
So when that hit, it was a while, and they still was letting people drink out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know if we should be drinking this water. There was another town years and years and years ago that that movie, what's her name?
I know exactly what one.
She was
Meryl
a
Streep.
lawyer. No, it was
Oh, Aaron
Julia
Brockovich.
Roberts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was that, and they were not supposed to drink that water.
Right.
And that water, after that spill, led to that cancer in all those people in that town.
That's what we were talking about with Old Ford and with Swannanoa, all these places.
Well,
okay, maybe
We'll know in about 5 years.
I was talking to that guy I was talking about before we started rolling. Deep River, the guy doing the big Operation Mountain Rescue, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He was talking about like, yeah, not just sick now, like you're talking about coughing and stuff like that. He said, wait about 20 years and see what kind of weird sicknesses people have out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that Bear Independent guy was on the ground the day that all of this happened. He was in that little village of East Germany, Tennessee. And, you know, all this radioactive stuff ends up in the water.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're testing for it. And they're talking about doing this soil replacement thing in Marshall here. But it's one of these things where it's like, okay, you have guys like that are like, preparedness guys, they run a ministry and all this kind of stuff. Okay, why aren't the people who are, say, the public health officials or the
do anything?
Why aren't they coming around doing that, saying, hey, you know, as much as we understand?
Well, from what I understand, they're saying that they're booked up and they can't get to everybody.
Yeah, they won't go do water testing for people.
I don't think I know one person that they're doing water testing for.
I need my water tested. I think it's bad. And I was like, we just tested our own. We had to order a kit off Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she said she called a bunch of different counties and stuff, health departments. They're booked out for months. They won't come do water testing. And they're supposed to do it for free.
But why don't the government send in people? Why don't they send in their people like they send in the 10 days after we was already flooded? What was the National Guard? Why don't they send the National Guard in to go ahead and do these testing on this water? Why don't they send them in with the Clorox or whatever they're supposed to put in the water? Or tell us how much to put in it, test our water, and tell us how much to put in it. And then you can come back and test it, let us know if it's okay. You would rather pay these big companies with insurance that y'all are with anyway, get money off of?
Yeah.
You would rather them have to pay somebody's death or somebody's cancer treatments for years and years and years before they die? Is that what you want?
Or at least go door to door and tell people, hey, there's chemicals in this dirt, there's chemicals in this silt, because people react when their stuff is destroyed. They run out, try to fix it as quick as they can.
Your stuff up.
They're not thinking that 30 miles up the mountain or down wherever that a plant got wiped out and a bunch of chemicals came into it. And like you said,
well,
it was weeks before you knew what happened. So you didn't know that there was cars going in there. You didn't know any of that.
Well, another thing about this. So we're right down below 2 big plants. So you've got all that stuff there, and you've got people that worked for the one plant that's above the other one, which I was, I can't mention names because I'm afraid, But anyway, so you've got the one big plant where they test on mice and all kinds of stuff. And then they have a waste where they put all this stuff. And this waste really goes into the creek or whatever. So that's what I've been told. And then I know for a fact where I worked, it's like what they call Watertown because they can get water. They have their own water system up there. Just like with the other place. They both have their own water system. Well, if all this stuff and these chemicals that they put in this certain thing and that's open and it gets into the things anyway, well, if it floods, where's that stuff going to go?
Exactly.
Right. That's what I've been saying.
Because it's going up through their systems and it's bringing it out. They're flooded. Where's that going?
Yeah.
So you've got all those chemicals from both places that they said, even the chemicals down here at the place I said before, that's just above us, that used to burn coal and everything else like that. So they quit doing the coal and changed it over. But they've still got all that chemicals from that dye going up big smokestacks in the air. And you can smell it. It smells like, when I used to work there, it smells like rotten eggs. So you would smell it so strong, it would burn your nose. It's from some kind of chemical they used to dye. But it was so strong. And it's like, it's not even filtrated good. Yeah, but they let it all go out. And some of the stuff where they say do not pour down sinks or do not pour down drains.
Because it'll destroy your
But
pipes.
they do.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So then where does that go?
And
Into
then,
a creek.
like, I can't believe I didn't think of this. And someone said it the other day, and I was like, duh. You know, when they're talking about people are talking about the mines and how it's really they just want to do this mine, that mine. The important thing to think about with mines is you have to use these very powerful chemicals to extract lithium or whatever, or the quartz from, the quartz mine up there in Alta Pass or whatever.
Yeah.
So those chemicals are getting washed into the water. Don't worry about what they're, if it was intentionally done and they're trying to do a
It's
mine
in
or
there
whatever.
regardless.
The fact of the matter is there's a mine there. It takes certain kind of chemicals to be able to actually, you're talking about granite and stuff. That
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying. I don't know the whole process,
Well,
but I'm
see,
just
now I
saying.
know a lot of thing about the mines and stuff like that. I mean, I've heard that they need supplies for certain stuff, and they think that's an issue with it too. That certain places want this stuff. But I do know that my husband's grandfather owned a mine over in Burnsville. He owned his own mine. Him and another partner, which was his brother-in-law, they owned a mine over there, and they sheeted mica.
Mhm.
And how they done it was not like they do now. I don't know exactly how they did it. I think they actually took it off. They would get it out and maybe barely tap it to where they wouldn't break it, but they could sheet it. It's like, have you ever seen mica?
Yeah.
Only
It's
in
like-
the finished product. I haven't seen.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
If you ever go to the Rock Museum up in Spruce Pine, they've got a rock museum up there that you can look at mica and stuff like that. A good thing too is there's a gem mine up there
Yeah.
that you can go to on Crabtree, up through Crabtree. And
Yeah, see, we saw that when
we
it was
went
closed
through
in
there
the
and it was
off season.
closed.
Yeah.
Well, my son went up there the other day and they panned for gold there. But if you'll go through there, they'll show you what kind of rocks we produce and what kind of stuff like that. But if you'll go to the Rock Museum up in Spruce Pine, that's right at the top of the mountain, it's actually called a visitor center or something like that.
Mhm.
It'll tell you about the rock and the stuff that we mine in this area. And David's grandfather done the mica, and he wound up having, he done it for years and years and years. And he had pretty much what they call black lung
Yeah.
from the coal mines. So when he'd cough up blood. And he was
Mhm.
54 years old
Yeah,
when he
that was,
died.
like, so common.
Yeah,
So
I had
nice.
family die from lung cancer who never
Yeah.
smoked
Yeah.
because of Delray in Detroit. Like it
Yeah.
was just the air was black, it was soot in the air. And that's the thing, like, everybody's all worried about the environment and stuff, but they're not talking about the environment that these people are living in right now.
Yeah, the environment that is now
You're,
killing people
living
and
in a
animals
tent
that are
on
living
this
there.
ground that's
Yeah.
full of every chemical, every kind of excrement, and all of that. And I mean, like you were talking.
That's where we need to do a podcast. You need to do a podcast, or whoever needs to do a podcast, and get these people in that actually works in these places.
Mhm.
Like the people that actually works in Feldspar up at Spruce Pine. The people that actually works, and let them tell you some stories. Because a lot of people that works in these plants around here and stuff like that, they know more than anybody else where you'll find on the
Mhm.
radio or on the television or whatever. These CEOs and these people are not going to tell you anything.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
the government's
definitely.
not going to tell you
Yeah.
anything.
No.
It's these people that works in these plants and in these mines
Yeah,
that
we
are
can
going
get
to
in
tell
contact
you
with some. We
what gets
absolutely
done.
will.
So, I mean, if you want me to try to find you some people, because I'm very,
Do it.
That's
You're
where I'm
Hey, we
from.
definitely talk to
Yeah.
them.
I'm
Absolutely.
from Spruce Pine, so I can get you some people
Oh,
that
really?
can come down and podcast.
See, I know a lot of people are afraid. Well, if they currently work for these companies, obviously they're afraid.
Oh, yeah.
I know almost
But you
everybody
have
up there
blur
works in.
faces.
But you've had people that has worked for them. Now we could also too. You could do their face out, like
Yeah, we've
with
done
my
that.
company that I worked for too. I mean, you're told not to say anything.
Mhm.
Right.
You signed a paper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
the
not say
NDA
anything.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even when I left, I had to sign a paper.
Mhm.
When I left the company and took my pension or took my, what is it called? They paid me
Mhm.
for leaving.
Hmm.
So I had to sign that order. So it's just like they don't want you to say exactly what happens, but
Well,
Now, have you heard about? You said, well, she mentioned something about Burnsville, and I just want to ask you, what do you know some people up in Burnsville
yeah,
right
my
now?
aunt lives up there.
Okay, so my doctor, who works half the week here, half the week in Burnsville, said that the water there when the sun's coming up is glowing green, like it's radioactive. Have you heard the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
So you've heard that it's really that bad, pollutants and stuff.
Yeah, there's like smoke coming off it.
Yeah, and what the other thing is that before we started taping, you were talking about, or we were both talking about the amount of people dying and whatnot, and quote unquote missing.
They seemed like too. You got to think. I mean, there was somewhere that had a big truck in up there. I think it was in. It might have been in Burnsville. I think it was Green Mountain, because that's between, it's like Burnsville, and then you go through Green Mountain to get to where my mom lives over there in Bakersville.
That's like the Toe River or something.
Yeah, it goes through Red Hill. It goes through you can go through Burnsville, and then you can go, like I used to go from Burnsville all the way back to my mom. So I'd have to go through Burnsville, Green Mountain, then Red Hill into my mom in Bakersville at, there where she lives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got to her house. But if you think about it, that big old truck was there, some kind of tanker truck, over in the water, and it's still there.
Oh, really?
And that was just a while back that I seen that.
Yeah.
There's a tanker sitting in the actual river.
There was, yeah. And I'm pretty sure, and this was like last week or something.
I think it is still there, because someone was saying that was here last weekend.
Yeah.
Wow. So I mean, it's so you've probably heard some of the worst from these people, is because they're telling you what they need, so they're telling you why we need it.
Yeah.
We don't have water, and that's the thing I want to get across with this stuff.
And now I got a lady that does all this. She's doing all this stuff up there at Bakersville. So she's been doing this up there, the same thing I've done, but she's been, getting all the stuff up there and bringing people in and putting them where they need to go and all this stuff. So I can get you in contact with her. If you need her information, and that way you can talk with her. You'll probably have to go to Spruce Pine to talk to her.
Okay.
Or you can invite her down here to talk to her. Either
way, yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Because we were just trying to piece it together, because, like you said, there was weeks and weeks where the outside world, never mind the outside world, we couldn't communicate with each other.
Well, see, that's the one that was talking to me last week with the cadaver dogs, talking about the cadaver dogs.
Yeah.
How long that they let them go out for a couple of days and then they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you leave? I mean, I know there's nothing much you can do right now, but can't you get a team in there to dig?
Something.
Use shovels.
Yeah.
Dig. I mean, you might have to go down 4 feet or what, 5 feet? Is there any more? I mean, it might be 6 feet or 8 feet.
Some of it's piled up. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, it is.
And digging through that nasty stuff.
Yeah, a lot of it, I know they've said people have found like body parts.
Well, you had to. I mean, if you're going through all
you see what it did to metal and cars.
Yeah,
imagine what it does to a body.
Yeah. And you see all these trees and stuff that's broke up and pieces here, pieces here, pieces here.
Yeah, people are.
But it's not just
piles.
that. They're underneath dirt and dirt and dirt and dirt that was washed in.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at all that.
Landslide over top of a whole family. They're buried under. Who knows?
Well, you've seen did you hear the story about that one man from Burnsville that lost his son and his wife?
Yeah.
And he went all the way. He was located in Tennessee, and they still haven't found the wife.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course you won't. I mean, you think about it. I could throw, with that kind of violent water and wind and cars floating down the water. If I throw a mannequin in there, you gonna find it 48 days later?
No.
Maybe
But I mean, this is a fact. The man is known.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've seen his. On Facebook. Yeah. I mean, this is a fact, 100 fact. His son died, and they cannot find.
They'll probably never
his
find
wife.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm just curious how. I mean, okay, there are people obviously who choose to live kind of off the map. What I was trying to explain in the last podcast we did is that you can fly over the mountains and you'll see, I don't know, a house here, a house there, but they'll be miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
They're purposely off the map.
Yeah, where you're like, wow,
who's gonna report them missing?
Right.
And then if 4 or 5 people were missing on our block, like say their house got wiped out, would we know their names?
No.
So when they're saying we got this number, you got to remember the numbers that we first got that have been supposedly dwindling down since the beginning. We got those before anybody here even had the internet or 911.
Yeah.
So that 1,300 or whatever, or no, I think it's there. Like
and I'm sorry, I've not went house to house in my neighborhood or down my road to check on a neighbor that's
Right.
several miles down below
Right.
me.
Has anyone?
Or miles up
That's
above
what I'm
me,
saying.
or
Yeah.
even if it's a walking distance or whatever. I mean, we have not done that.
Mhm.
I mean, we've reached out to people that we know within our community, like our church. Like if there's a member that we haven't seen
Yeah.
or that, you know, we haven't heard from, you know, yeah, I can imagine us reaching out to them. But when you have other people that don't go to churches and that don't, you know, don't have family members and say, I ain't talked to Ethel in you know, 3 months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But there are some people that don't have family,
Yeah.
Right.
that don't have anybody to reach out to them, that who knows?
Yeah, they could no one would even know
Yeah.
they're gone.
I mean, there is even a woman in Bakersville one time that lived on the opposite road of me that was dead in her place for about a year. When they went
Oh,
in
my
to
God.
check on
Oh,
her,
we've heard of that
she
in
had been
Michigan.
spider bit, apparently.
Oh,
And she died. Her whole body was just like blown up.
Oh, God.
And it
Oh.
was awful. And it was I don't know what all,
and
but
for
the
a whole
spider
year,
bite what
nobody
caused her.
reported her
Yeah.
gone or nothing.
And she laid there.
Oh,
And she kept wrapping herself, apparently, because she kept getting like real bad infection and was
Oh, my
wrapping
God.
and wrapping. So
Kept
when they
trying to
went
treat
in,
herself like,
yeah.
yeah.
and there was even one lady that died over there. Her dogs ate her. Was eating on
yeah,
her.
I've heard of that
Yeah.
happening in quite a
But
few
this lady
cases.
was that long, right across from me on the other road, had been dead for a
And you
year
just didn't know.
that
or
nobody
like-
found.
Mhm.
Wow.
Until one day something happened and they went to go check on her or went to go knock on her door and nobody answered and somebody knew something was wrong or something. I don't know how they found out, but it's crazy.
That's what I would like people to understand is that this thing was I don't even know the exact, it was the size of Belgium,
Yeah.
basically. And so you got to picture all the little towns and everything, all the mountains all along that way, the river, the different creeks, all of that. And so if you've got one person like that every couple of miles,
Mhm.
that adds up to a heck of a lot more people than
Yeah.
what they're saying that were missing or that have passed away. And her and I are just bothered by the fact that for some reason it's being downplayed. We feel it is.
It is.
And then for some reason, even the local people, I've seen people in Swannanoa do it. When somebody will pop on there and go, listen, I was with a crew who came out immediately to help people, boots in the ground, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
We're missing, or there's at least 1,000 more people dead.
Yeah.
Immediately, people jump on there and be like, I don't know why you guys got to buy into conspiracy theories. We're right here. None of us are dead. Like, we lost property, but that's it.
But then
And
there's other people that'll be like, what?
like, hey, I'm a couple
no.
miles away, and that did
Like,
happen
we know
here.
it
We did
happened,
lose a whole
yeah.
bunch.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And it really bothers us, and we're trying to
But it does
eventually
me too.
get to the bottom of it. Like, I feel like these people, it's a disrespectful, dehumanizing thing
Mhm.
that all these people are like kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
Well, honey, there can be dogs hurt.
Oh, there's tons.
Oh, there's a
Animals,
ton
I
of
mean,
pets
man,
I'm
like
sure
the
that are
animals
just
that were
Done.
in
Horses,
the nature
cows,
center
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah,
in Asheville. Like, what happened to them?
But still,
You
yeah,
know?
I mean,
that's a good question.
They're gone.
you've got other people that could come in and say, what can we do? I mean, if we had more people that was interested in it and they could really come in and get to the bottom of it. And I think that may be something with this administration coming in January
Mm-hmm.
can find out differently. And
I
I hope
sure
that's
hope
it.
so.
JD Vance
We need
promised
just
to not
keep
forget,
talking.
Mhm.
and I have been constantly on X tagging Trump,
Me
him.
too.
I've
Do
been
the same
copy
thing.
pasting comments on people who
Yeah.
are like local politicians and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been copy pasting comments saying like, it's still horrible here because people have to understand. Like, I just want them to think for 1 second. Let's say their neighbor lost their house, their land got wiped out. They couldn't live on it no more. They didn't have their car, obviously no electricity and that kind of stuff, no food, their job, everything. And okay, now
But I-
multiply that by tens of thousands and tell me how much money it would cost to replace all that
And how long?
and how long it would take.
Interstates wiped out. You know.
Right.
I mean,
So 48 days in, people have been fed. They've been kept warm in a tent.
Yeah.
But
we're doing the
like
best
you said,
we
how do you
can
build their
to help
house?
people,
Like,
but,
I mean,
you know.
Well, the only thing I could tell you to probably do is you're going to have, or anybody's going to have somebody big to start, or somebody
Yeah.
pretty big to
We
start.
need
I mean,
somebody.
you need somebody to reach out that you can reach out to, or somebody that can reach out to you. that can give you a hand up in knowing, I know that who was from Asheville was the country music singer. And he come here. It wasn't here. It was like in
Black Mountain,
maybe Charlotte.
Oh,
and he done a concert.
Was that Eric Church you're talking about?
Yes,
Yeah.
Eric Church.
That's right. Yeah,
but the Eric Church, I don't know where he's from, but I know the one that hosted it.
Luke Combs.
Yeah. Luke Combs is from Asheville, and there's a lady that lives here that sings for the Roadrunners. I think it's her that actually writes song with Luke Combs.
Oh.
So if you can somehow get in touch with her to get with Luke Combs, and then have Luke Combs talk to people, to see where that goes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways to do it, but it's very hard getting that contact.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing. It's like I lose, I basically get feeling negative pretty quick.
Joe Rogan,
you've been able to stay on.
Yeah,
That's funny. We had a podcast back after Biden was elected.
Joe Rogan.
When censorship was terrible, the economy was terrible, this and the other, and we called it Calling Joe Rogan. To bring together all the libertarian minds and all that stuff to come over to the right. And it happened exactly the way we said. We named Russell Brand and Dave Rubin and Tulsi Gabbard and all these people, and it all happened.
Oh, really?
So I almost feel like we did it.
Thing
No, I'm
right
just kidding.
That's
We didn't do it. But yeah, it's just the whole thing is it's bothersome to me. I mean, number one, obviously, the amount it takes to actually rebuild things for these people, but even just getting to the bottom of it. Okay, like you said, go door to door and ask, do you have anybody missing? Has anybody passed away? This sort of thing. And then, okay, so when you get into certain communities, 85% of the homes are gone. Mm-hmm. So do you just mark down what that address is?
Well, that's
and then
just
how do you find out if those people
going to Buck Creek? You know, you go up through there and you go to Lake Lure and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
We went to Buck Creek and it was eerie. We posted it on our YouTube channel.
Well, Lisa,
we have a whole thing
I
on
sent it. Remember, I sent you the thing
from
the other people?
Yeah.
So Lisa Morgan, the one I was telling you about, she's working with a cleanup crew up there. And she said it's crazy. It's like a ghost town.
It
whole
is.
Lake Lure.
But they put I was going to say in Buck Creek, they ran new electrical lines to homes that weren't ruined, but nobody's in them.
Yeah. It's the weirdest
Why they
thing.
run electrical lines to a brand new shiny ones?
Yeah.
I didn't even know they shine like that when you first put them in. So that's how you know that I
It was really
ones.
weird. I was like,
so it is. It's and then you hear from people, oh, well, those are like vacation homes, or that's an RV place. Nobody was there, and I'm just like,
crap!
hold
These
on a
are
second.
these
They live there year round.
campsites up there in Buck
living
Creek.
there.
They do live there year round.
yeah.
It's not just a summer home.
No.
In Greenlee here,
Where did they
people
go?
live there year round, and that's completely wiped
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And we got a heads up where we were like, hey, you might want to evacuate.
No, we lived down the
But
street. from
we
here.
were supposedly only us and a couple more people were the only people in Marion told to leave.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were the quote unquote lucky ones because, like you said, they close our road down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we're told to leave.
With the water that
So none of
flooded
these
up
people
to
had a heads
Lowe's and
up.
stuff.
Yeah.
They were told it's going to rain and maybe flood a little bit, like you said. But I mean, come on.
I mean, well, then I seen the way I seen the hurricane on the size of the hurricane. And I thought that is a big hurricane.
Mhm.
And I said, if they're saying we're going to get flooding and it's going to be bad, then we're going to have some pretty bad flooding. So I didn't think it would be like exactly like it was. No, I didn't think we'd get that much. Not all this crazy stuff.
Mhm.
But I thought we'd get, maybe I'd get flooding to where
You get
it
some
come up a
damage
little
or
bit,
something.
down there on the creek. I didn't think it would be up there all the way to my carport and flooded my basement out, which is never done. And since that house was built there, and it's like her mother and daddy lived there for, Lord, I don't know, for years and years and years and years and years
Right.
before her. So then now we live in it. And it's just like she said, her mother and father said that house the water never got up that high.
Hmm.
Never. So, but the only hearing back in 1815 or 10 or 20.
And what's crazy about it too is that, I mean, every time throughout recorded history, there never has been a hurricane that came 300 and some miles inland to wipe anything out in the
that?
We're
mountains.
higher ground. where people come to get away from
This is where you go to
hurricane.
get away.
Yeah.
But it's like from the beginning down here at the church, we were hearing about teams that were going out and
Yeah.
basically, why is it that regular citizens were the ones that were having to go out and
Yeah.
find bodies?
And find children. floating
Where
down
are the
river.
people? Yeah, find kids floating in the water. Like, why aren't there supposed to be like officials out there,
Mhm.
people trained for that
Yeah.
out there
There
doing
were
that?
some of the first responders, but they were local.
But then they say, okay, well, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
What do you mean overwhelming?
some of
You
the
said there was only a
cops-
couple people.
Yeah, right.
And there was the cops,
You know?
and every time I'd see them, there was like 2 or 3 standing out down at the red lights.
Yeah,
Especially on 221.
They just stopped traffic.
And they would,
That's all I
and
seen.
they didn't even let me. We was trying to talk to them and say, hey,
Yeah, they would.
what's
Buck
going
Creek.
on down 221?
Buck
Can we?
Creek, they didn't want to even look up from the
Yeah.
He
top.
wouldn't look up at me. I
No.
thought we was gonna get yelled at for going back there
Yeah.
because it was like kind of closed off and it's like a checkpoint.
He's just
And I was gonna be like, we got supplies,
typing us
and I'm going like
off.
this to
And he don't
him
even look.
to ask him like, is a road going
He's
through up
just like,
there?
yeah.
And he would
wave
not
your
look
sign,
up.
didn't
He was
even
like,
look.
no, I'm good. They're just tired of sitting there.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed to do nothing. And
No,
I
they
understand the cops weren't out doing this and that during the worst of it because
Yeah.
nobody could drive in it.
Right.
I mean, your car would get flooded out and destroyed. I understand that part of it. But like you said, that is a good question to ask. And I actually am going to try and figure it out. Maybe I should know the answer to this. I'm in my
Well, they
40s.
kept saying to
How
me
come we
too.
couldn't get no phone
They're like,
calls? No,
don't go
nothing?
up there because there's no way up through there unless you got 4-wheelers.
Yeah.
So how did they know that it was messed up unless you go up through there, unless you got 4-wheelers if they hadn't been up there?
Right.
Right.
So I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then a lot of them too, like when they was sitting there, I'm like trying to stop and I'm like, sir, can you go on, don't stop, don't stop. And I'm like, what? I mean, it was already irritable enough knowing we just went through, we're in an apocalypse.
Yeah.
We don't have no
There's
government
nothing.
coming in, no help coming in.
Oh,
and
God,
now
there was
you're,
no lights
now
either.
you're not
People were
talking to
driving
me and
into
you're
each
saying,
other.
go on, you don't need to, like you're not telling me nothing here. I can't find my children. My children hasn't called me. My mother hasn't called me. Where's my family? And I'm
It's
like,
pitch black.
what am I supposed to do? I mean, I was just like in edge. I was edge, and it was so bad. And then thank God that he brought me here to do what I was doing, because if I didn't, I would have went
You would
crazy.
have lost your mind.
Yeah.
Dude,
And her and I have been that way. If I don't do something for this, whether it's
If-
podcast support, helping her do the charitable thing, whatever,
Yeah.
I can't.
So
It's,
I don't think
my
this
mind's
was
dark from it.
I think this was as much for me to be a servant of the Lord and to help people, but it was just as good for me, experience for me to do, because it calmed my nerves. So it was a help in both ways.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, it benefited
If
you
it
too.
wouldn't have been for here
Yeah.
and like coming in here and meeting
It
you,
kept me
meeting
focused more.
a bunch of the other people, and now
Or
like
kept me off.
now
from
look
my
at
back.
us and how close
Yeah.
we are and how we've got like a little family here and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we have.
I mean,
really,
we had volunteers
we have been through a lot
that worked so hard. I mean, we had like
we
Joyce,
stood side by side with
Whittemar,
people for
we had
hours and
Karen.
hours and hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours.
And you guys
know?
were hearing some bad stories
I mean,
too. Like, I don't
yeah.
know if I could have listened to that all day.
and just
Like,
but-
and
you
then
know,
we had people coming in like Sadie and stuff
yeah,
that was staying here all night for what, a week?
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
those guys with the 4-wheelers that come
They
in
were
and
here
stayed
for a long time. Yeah.
several weeks.
you know,
Mhm.
side by sides, and
And I
the
still
skid
contact
steers
him.
and
I
the-
talked
the
to him
chainsaw
like a week
people
ago.
and-
Yeah,
I still
they're
talk to
good
him.
people.
Stan.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hate to do this to you.
No, it's getting
No,
late.
we
We
gotta
need to
get
wrap
the
up
kid
anyway.
home.
Yeah, and I've got to
She's
take my
probably passed out
medication.
there.
Yeah, we gotta go home anyway. So, well,
All right, guys,
to wrap
thank
it
you.
up, we love you, Vivian,
We love
and
you too.
thank you.
I mean, I love you too, guys.
Thank you for sitting down with us,
And hopefully,
um,
this will help put you in contact with some people to help you do what you're doing, and vice versa.
Yeah, I'm
And,
hoping either
uh,
Trump gets a hold of me or Joe Rogan, or I'll talk to anybody. Just send them on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
come
will.
on,
We'll
guys.
Come on,
try.
America,
Come on.
get us some people
We
involved
got to
here.
do something.
Yeah.
I have no ideas for the
Right.
first time ever. No ideas.